I come to you not to insult America when I say the following. America is fat. And I don't mean the country itself, of course, but the people within it. America has an astonishingly high rate of obesity, with adult rates at over 40%. That's me just pointing to a random person within a crowd, and them being obese is a little too high for comfort. And I'm certainly not speaking to you from a very high horse. I'm not as lean as my sucked-in gut and loose dress shirt would have you believe, trust me. There's a wide list of reasons why obesity is a problem in America, and I want to highlight one thing that is perceived to be a cure to this. One type of food that you have seen constantly on the shelves of grocery stores and read about over and over again on trendy diet magazines you find in your doctor's waiting room. Low-fat products. The evil of low-fat products. I sound crazy. I know. But all that glitters is not gold in this world. I realize I sound like a clickbait BuzzFeed article talking about this one trick your doctor doesn't want you to know. I mean, throughout my life, I certainly remember my parents telling me we should get the low-fat variety of this yogurt if we're going to have yogurt in the first place. And I believe them. I believed them like the sheep I was. My brain was far too skinny to understand that this will lead to my body growing girthy. This is why I speak to you today. To clear up some misconceptions on this particular type of consumable. First, I will fatten up those minds with the knowledge of how low-fat products came to be. Then I'm sure you'll just eat up the dirt I have on the industry that makes these foods. Finally, I hope you will bite the hand that feeds you these products in order to break free from their evil grip. First, it's important to understand the history of how low-fat products came to be, to understand their effect on the world today. To understand the basic principle of low-fat products, we need to travel all the way back to the dawn of animals. As we rose from the ocean, they understood something we understood. We need to eat to survive. I sincerely hope you do not need an informative speech on that subject. I hope you know that already. Fat, in particular, provided long-term energy compared to other foods. So, those organisms like fat more. We evolved to like fat more. Makes sense. If something's going to save our lives more than other things, we should like it more. Corporations picked up on this millions of years ago, and they said, we need to activate those little monkey brain neurons to turn a greater profit in the people of America, and so they did. Americans did what they did best, and they ate hamburgers, they ate ribs, and they ate every other product on the market with loads of lipids available. Products were fatty, products were delicious, and everyone just lived happily ever after. Except they thought, you think fat makes you fat? My God. It was a simple train of thought that pushed a health craze in the 60s and 70s. People stopped wanting to eat things that had so much fat in them. This was all based on some pretty sound logic that people came up. Genius, really. You should eat more fruits and veggies and not eat as much fatty products. Makes sense. There was some initial back and forth between the corporations and the people and the legislative bodies, but it all came to a general consensus that people should try to eat foods with lower fat contents. And corporations, being the cool, up-to-date, hip companies they were, said, I'm hip, I'm a lit person, I hear the youth call for products with less fat, and by golly, who am I to not comply? Who understands the youth of America quite like a millionaire man in his 60s? And so companies began to offer products with lower fat to appeal to the youth and the health conscious of America. and everything was great, and you could eat delicious foods once again, and you never had to worry about and lived happily ever at. Except, tasted kind of bland. Tasted bland. It turns out that less fat in foods make food taste worse. Who could have guessed? A fatless hamburger didn't really activate those much needed monkey neuron brains, as I mentioned previously. It turns out that fatless food tasted much, much worse. And standard businessman number 6 said, "This will never do. People cannot stop eating our products to think. They will begin to question the garbage we've been stuffing down their greasy throats for years. Only there was something tasty other than fat." And at that exact moment, he turned to his right and saw the company intern putting sugar in his tea. My God. And that was the birth of what is the true low-fat product. This moves us right along to my next point. Something I promised was coming. Something you probably didn't believe was coming. Sure, fat was gone. It had walked up exit stage left. But sugar was there. Items like McDonald's burgers and low-fat yogurt appealed to those that were health conscious and still kept consumers buying their products. The food industry have found a cheap and easy way to keep buyers buying. Low fat is good for you. It may have sugar, but at least it doesn't have fat, they said. The sugar industry absolutely boomed. Sugar corporations had found a cheap, easy way to get past those who were concerned with health, and they were going to keep it that way by absolutely any means necessary. When concerns of sugar came out to the public and came out to science, they spent money to keep it very hush-hush. Companies like Coca-Cola focused grant money toward researchers studying sugar. And when those papers came out from the researchers, what did the researchers do? They said, no, sugar's not to blame for obesity in America. That's fat. Fat is the villain. Others, funded by companies of sugar, said, no, sugar can't possibly be the cause for all of this. That would be not exercising enough. And yet those that were not funded by sugar companies said, sugar makes you gain weight. Sugar is a cause for this rise in obesity we have been seeing. And that shows a stark contrast, a strong move by sugar companies. They had effectively blocked their argument against them. They were hanging this fruit, this carrot over our heads on a stick. That goal of losing weight, that goal of eating healthy, over us like we were pigs. And they led us forward constantly, fattening us up by the very low-fat products they said would help us lose weight. And by the time they were done with the whole pig carrot on a stick thing, by the time we were done consuming their products, they had already brought home the bacon. They had effectively found a way to market a more unhealthy food as a health product, and they didn't care. So why does this matter? So one bad thing is replaced by another bad thing. Who cares? This is a pretty big deal, especially for those 40% of obese adults in America that may want to try to lose weight. Losing weight is already hard enough without being tricked by corporations. People being fooled into thinking something can actually help them, while in reality, it can actually decrease their chances of reaching their goals in the first place, and companies profit. The companies hurt people and they win. They buy what we have been told to buy and they gain money. What something parents insist we buy at the store is actually a sinister sugar plot to keep people buying and keep people consuming. I've explained the reason low-fat products exist. I've showed the reason the dastardly plot behind them is put into place, and I've shown why it really matters. In a country where 40% of the adult population is obese, it is important to know why this is. It's especially important to think of ways to fix it. Because all that glitters is not gold, and all that is low fat is not healthy.